Hi, this is Penny Reagan from Holistic Liberty at holisticliberty.net. This will be part two if it works okay. I'm experimenting with my new birthday present that my boyfriend Bill got me. Today is April 23rd, 2022, Saturday, and he got me a tablet, and I'm videoing on that right now. And it has internet on it and all this other cool stuff, so he gave it to me this morning. My birthday is actually on the 28th of April, but we're just kind of celebrating it in advance, and hopefully on the 28th we'll be going to the movies to see if we can find it, the Harry Potter movie, Dumbledore, whatever. Anyways, last night was very, very, very windy, and I got into my tent last night and was actually grateful for my little tent, because I think probably because it was smaller, it may have withstood the wind a little bit better than some bigger ones. However, our neighbors over there have a big tent, and theirs stood up to the wind. But I think if I had brought the TP tent, that probably wouldn't have stood up very well. It goes up easy, it comes down easy. And the center pole of a TP tent would easily fall down, and it's not all that sturdy, which is one of the disadvantages of a TP tent. That and the center pole can get in the way when you're doing whatever. If you remember, I was talking a little bit yesterday about when you go camping and what you decide to use. Well, Bill was in his hammock. Like he hammocks camp. That's it. Nothing different. He just camps in a hammock, and he froze his bunions off last night. Even with the wind and everything, I just used a sheet, and I was comfortable. But poor Bill was cold, and the fact that he didn't get much sleep this week to begin with didn't help. So he had an under thing for his tent. He put it inside, or his hammock, he put it inside his hammock. He tried different stuff, and he still pretty much got up with a cold butt. So all that wind just kind of messed up his sleeping. He's going to try a few different things tonight. Last night we had a wind advisory until 6. It's still pretty windy this morning. It'll be windy all day. It's supposed to rain maybe tomorrow night or Monday, right, hon?
After midnight.
After midnight, yeah. So I don't think I'll be going fishing today. And my son wanted me to try out. He has a fishing rod that is not working right for him, and he put a smaller, and he went from a 25 pound line to a 20-pound line, and I was supposed to try it out for him, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. It's just windy out. So, yeah. I don't know what to talk about today. I feel fortunate that we got 45 again. The last time we had 45, we had decided that this was one that we wanted to do several times, and
Happy birthday! Early.
And the reason, and I get kisses, and the reason that I feel fortunate is when Bill was making the reservations here, there was only 3 sites left, right?
Yeah.
And one of them was 45. And so I'm like, sweet. I mean, he's a heathen, so I could say the gods were with us as far as he's concerned. Then we got the very one that we like, and he probably would have gotten anyway, and it was one of the few that was left. So, I mean, that's really, really good luck if you believe in luck. Just fortunate. Maybe I should play the lottery. Maybe
over
I should.
200.
Oh, I thought it was over 300.
Or over 300,
Yeah. Well, maybe I should check the ticket that I already bought that I hadn't checked yet. So, well then, No, because that would have been the lottery before, so I didn't win it. But maybe I won something. Anyway, with it being windy this morning, I kind of wish I'd brought a shawl or something. I put on my long pants. When packing to come here, last minute decision was to grab long pants just in case, and I'm grateful because it's helping to keep me from getting too cold. Got up at 4 o'clock this morning to take my shower. The urinal that I bought worked well last night, and I was very, very grateful for it, considering that I did not want to have to get up and walk in the wind last night. So I was cozy in my little tent, I will say that much. The disadvantage about being in a little tent, of course, is it is very hard to maneuver myself in there. Now I have a cot in there, and the old cot, which is a little higher up, which I like sitting on it a lot better than a lower cot. We have some lower cots that I'm not too crazy about because it's hard for me to put together and hard for me to take apart. So I brought the one that was easy to put together, but in a small tent like that, a lower cot would probably be better, or an air mattress, because when I'm sitting up in the other cot, I'm bumping my head, and on the top, which doesn't hurt, it's all soft, but I put my Lucy light up there this morning and bumped my head, knocked the light off, stuff like that. Not a lot of room to maneuver, not a lot of room to get dressed in. Especially, believe it or not, it's actually harder to get dressed when you're putting like long pants on or messing around with the bottoms than it is the top in a small tent like that, especially if you're doing long pants. So if you're getting a tent to, for the privacy, and stands up well in the wind, or you're wanting just minimal room in a tent, you don't want a big tent, a little tent works, but there are some big sturdy tents. Like I says, our neighbors over there have a nice big sturdy tent. With that, you can get the privacy and mobility, being able to get up, like what I did with the teepee tent, or like I did with the wedge tent that we had. That the wedge tent, the advantage of the wedge tent was, you get a pop-up and you attach it to the pop-up. And it's kind of like a little apartment, pop-up part. You can make that as private or open as you want by buying little sides for it and stuff like that. And it's almost like a little open apartment, a little living room, and in your bedroom or whatever. And enough room to move around. It's not a huge tent, but it's enough room to stand up in some areas and move around, and stuff like that. The disadvantage of the larger tents is taking them down. It's a lot more room, takes up a lot more room when you're packing. If you wanted to go hiking and pack up a tent, a large tent would be too much. It a little bit more complicated putting it up, complicated taking it down, where a small tent is easier to put up, easier to put down, easier to hike with if you're taking it hiking. The advantage of a hammock over a tent would be, and a hammock doesn't take up a lot of room. It's also, if you're hiking, a hammock is a lot easier to pack. Even though you have a lot of stuff you got to do to put it up, or a lot of things to pack with it, it's still not as big and bulky as even a small tent. Some people have their hammock set up so that they could put up their hammock and their cover over the hammock at the same time, and some don't. You got to put the cover up, which means you got to put the lines up, and then you got to put the hammock up, and you got to put the tree huggers up, and all that. But when it comes to hiking and packing, a hammock is the way to go, but you still need the underlay for the hammock. There's a lot more to putting a hammock up. And on windy days like this, you could freeze your bottom with a hammock. But when you have your little, I can't think of what this is called. I can't think of what this is called. But when you have it up there, it's more nice and porchy. than, you know, when you're dealing with the tent unless you have a wedge tent. So really, when you're camping and you're choosing what you're going to sleep in, your camp gear, you know, you have to take into consideration what are you willing to sacrifice for what you want. You know, if you want a lot of room, then you sacrifice packing space, you know. But if you're just doing everything in a car and you're not hiking, then and you don't mind the extra time to put it up, get a big tent. If you don't really need a lot of room, a little tent is so much easier to put up. It doesn't take up a lot of packing space. It's like if you want a lot of room, it takes up packing space. If you don't want a lot of room, you don't take up a lot of packing space, I guess. And then, of course, you know, hammocks are good for hiking. Hammock is, even though there's a lot of stuff you got to put on the tree and all this net, it just doesn't take up a lot of room as far as packing space. And you got your nice little porched area, which you can arrange in any way you want. If you put it up correctly, it'll withstand the weather. Yes, really, you have to look into the different options as far as camping, what you want to try sleeping in. Remember, if you do choose a hammock, don't sleep in it like a banana. A lot of people think that's what you got to do, and then it's comfortable at first until about 15 minutes. You have to sleep in it diagonally, you know, like, okay, you know, you got your hammock. You do not sleep in it like a banana. You sleep in it diagonally, like corner to corner, and it's much more comfortable that way. I've never needed a pillow in a hammock. I've tried using pillows in a hammock and I always end up like tossing them to the bottom of the hammock. It's just a pillow is not comfortable. The way that the hammock is shaped, you just don't need a pillow in a hammock. So that's one advantage. You know, it really depends. What are you looking for? Are you looking for space? Are you looking to save space as far as packing? Are you looking for something easy up? You know, what's important to you and what are you willing to sacrifice for it? So, yeah, those are things. I've tried different things. You may want to go camping several times and try a big tent versus a little tent versus a hammock. And on the big tents, different types of big tents, little tents, different types of little tents so far. You know, just try different things and see what works for you. Not only that, you may want a variety of things because when you're going camping, you need to take into consideration that if you're looking at the weather, for example, you may want to pack in accordance to the weather. If you're going to hike in, you definitely want either a small tent or a hammock. You don't want a big tent if you're hiking in. You know, some campsites, they hike in a couple miles. I mean, even if you got a wagon or something, you know, only so much you can take with that. And, you know, so you have to think, are you going to hike in? Is your campsite going to be close to your car? Are you going to have electricity? Do you need to pack a solar panel? You know, what's the weather going to be like? You know, a lot of things to consider when going camping as far as what you're going to be using. So, sorry I don't have pictures of everything, and I still need to learn Blender. Hadn't gotten around to it, so I can't, like, you know, add stuff. That's why you're getting just no edited anything lately. So, yeah, so that's the best advice I can give for the time being. This is Penny Reagan at Holistic Liberty at holisticliberty.net on the 23rd of April, Saturday, 2022. Remember, I'm not here to tell you how to live. I can't do that. Not here to do any of that stuff. Just kind of help guide you to the one who can, and it would be your true self, your inner self. So, have a lovely day. I might upload this right now. Like I uploaded mine last night, and I don't have my little like subscribe thing and all this and that on there. I can't seem to do that if I'm doing it on the phone, so I'll probably do that later at home. And that's why I like to do that little extra stuff like this. So, well, have a lovely day.